Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to more Ace Attorney adventures. My voice/throat seems to be okay for now, so maybe I can finish the rest of the trial, but I might need to break it down in these little parts they're doing. I don't know, we'll see. Mic check. Alright. Okay. So, trial part 2. Also, because the trial is very long, I'm only gonna do voices for specific characters. The rest I'm just gonna talk normally because it's a string. Order please, let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Oh yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. Mr. Skulkin. Cool, blimey. This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out, me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Cool, blimey! On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. Cool, blimey! A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov, we We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. We'll say other fruit words. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. We was when we heard the gunshots, see, made us both jump and all this stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't have given me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stick everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbrokers, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't you make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windibanks that night. There's more to their testimony that meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Okay, alright, we did knock a few things over. gunshot.
Hold it!
So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah? This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright. Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up with that bang. Big bruv he screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You really mastered working quietly then. What a racket! Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse and then all of a sudden, burn! Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave them then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it, yep, it's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Hey, right you are, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!"
Hold it!
Okay. So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun! Bang! Kind of thing. A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from, could you tell? Of course we could, from the other side of the door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank. On me granny's life, course it was. On his granny's life, course it was. So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice. So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. No. We didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that book and all the fancy clobbers gives us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life it is. On his granny's life it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. Yeah, make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. A bloke on the place holding a gun, so you should have fired young gun.
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands. Oh yeah, I bet that was a sight, eh? The two waving them guns at each other must have gotten pretty heated. I mean, just before we shut it out, we had the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot. Didn't really sound like he meant it there. Mine, more of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that, to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course. Good grief, extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was going to shoot beat him to it, cooked his goose proper. Bet he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bang! Kinda thing. Yes, a career in acting very tragically missed. Then we had the sound of someone hitting the deck before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash dog, tidying the place up. The maid didn't have to give frights.
Hold it!
So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not in your life? It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, wasn't it? No way that was opening. Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov, it was. From the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Hint, hint. Like through the keyhole, or a spy hole, perhaps. Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in the game, see? But one day, we'll really cut the mustard. Please cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Gina was in there, unconscious, with the gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov, that's right. Couldn't have, even if we wanted to. We stuck everything back where we found it.
Hold it!
Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah, it was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss, good advice. Truth be told, my mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or summit. So they cut the derbies on us like wicked. And after you've been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, done it, huh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We had a chance.
Hold it!
And why should we believe that? Eh, what? Well, 'cause it's true, innit? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windibank. Correct. You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windibank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it. That's the full extent of their testimony. What is it, Bruno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'd probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry. People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Hello. Alright.
Hold it!
If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to the effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. We'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And, in fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. Ah, well, that's rotten luck, says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Sorry. Just before the gunshot. Okay. Bloke. Okay, so I present the picture of her holding the gun, I guess?
Objection!
You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov. We got the picture. He has, Nash, he has, no question. And yet the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel. Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses. Skulkin', never skulkin'. Okay, so that wasn't... let's see. Do I present the other photo? Let's see.
Objection!
So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was holding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov, you got the picture. He has Nash, she has, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
There could be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that mold tour used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun, bam. Kinda thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Single bullet wound in upper half, victim's back. Yes?
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shot of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. Skulkin. Yeah. But it's the God honest truth. It is, Nash, it is, when he was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand, and we saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun. Something like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission of these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what I'll do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But we have our guts for garters. In case he hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well... Do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Encounter with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah, sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord, this is it, the moment I've been waiting for. Okay, alright.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank. Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the brokery storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank in the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room and all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accuser at that time? What, that mall tour? Told her, couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobba. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claim that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Yeah. Was the victim Mr. Windibank wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey woomy, the great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at my front piece. So what you're saying is, You definitely saw Mr. Windibank with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. And all of a sudden he came at us, he did. It was Bildum. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean... When old Giza, the bloke was shown as an ox.
Hold it!
Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous statement, testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some air net, knocked over a picture frame, knocked over a scale level. So in fact it wasn't the sound of a gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Bruv here went flying over the counter, like a gunshot, I can tell ya. The old Gizzy pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through the door in the back room.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran into their storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Guinea was in there waiting for him with a gun. Yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my bruv here. That's right, Nash, that's right, me and my bruv were. We never had nothing to do with killing him.
Hold it!
You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from inside. You know it was, because you tried to open it. That's a decent door, that one, good and strong, wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windibank? Yes? Yes. Mr. Skulkin. Eh, what? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did. What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windibank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. It was the tiny brother. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums. 2, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim, and furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Reno? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Around here.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from location indicated, where was the victim at the time? Somewhere over here.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it for the door into the back room. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we would have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah. It was at precisely that moment, when the victim was fleeing for his life, that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot at the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Nah, nah. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, this report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than him. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank?
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But, what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there's someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel, present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the door from the inside? The tall brother.
Take that!
Obviously, the person could only have been... Just a moment, Rene. What? I'm just about to point dramatically at the prosecution and unveil an amazing revelation. Sorry, but just before you do, maybe you should take a deep breath and think things through one more time. The storeroom was locked from the inside, so whoever locked it must have been inside too, don't you think? Oh, like Mr. Winterbank, you mean? Well, yes, except that he was dead. But there's someone else it could have been. Only one other person, really. Only one other. You're out of time, I'm afraid. For which you must be... there's a time limit. Now then, let me pose the question again. Scenario... I guess Gina, then?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room. For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Yes, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. Well, of course, Jenny would have locked the door. It must goes that saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Jenny in the situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Winterbank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Winterbank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bro. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back in through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Bang. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Winterbank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what do we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Winterbank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it. In order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers have every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Winterbank's murder. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know. First time ever. And probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they have a guilty verdict or not. Heh. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say, such whatever, is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. Such chicanery? But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? Exactly. The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zeeks, might be an idea to explain this ballet conjuring trick or whatever it is to troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets. Oh dear. You noticed then. You noticed then? Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel? Yes, sir? Tell the court, how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime? Two bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life, and the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are two firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these two brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means when they're being not shot by same gun, stop, only one bullet, stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to the scrutiny. Order. Pray forgive the discourtesy of leaving dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zeeks. But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that, whatever it is. Mr. McGilded, down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken into evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious. Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a grim testament to the...
Hold it!
Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted, thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes, you know. My lord, wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer's probably obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's only one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? The squadron is primed and ready to go, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereotype here, which everyone knows that preparation. Who's attempted a theft on the previous day? I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There's nothing I do not know about guns. Okay. It would seem there's little remaining room for doubt. Have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when it fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris? The prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done something she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That's enough preamble, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. Once a rogue, always a rogue. 2 bullets were found at the scene. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. No one cares about you. I wouldn't say it's a theft.
Hold it!
What do you mean you were in for a busy day? Forgot to say stop to excuse me, stop. I'm a communications officer, stop. A communications officer. Does that have something to do with sending telegrams? Everything from personal messages written by members of the public to the latest news in the capital. I convert all the messages into Morse code and tap it out to the entire world electronically. To the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable under the sea, stop. Worldwide communication networks, stop. Information transmitted to and from all corners of globe, stop. Ah, yes. She was getting equally worked up about radio waves or the like before, wasn't she? I specialize in communicating information from government departments and newspaper offices. I see. I'm sure I shall have to wire the newspaper reports of today's guilty verdict later. So no sleep for me tonight, I imagine. Let's just finish the trial first, shall we? I am ballistics expert.
Hold it!
I thought you were just a tourist. Good day, I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, blood of, extreme violent bloodbaths, perhaps. Those extreme violent bloodbaths. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a ton. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There is nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Van Zeeks has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the possible, he said, but he hasn't. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Can I... Okay, I can't ask about the bullets. At least I don't think I can. I guess I'll press her first, I guess. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes, sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. One or two guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose, if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A third bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? Yes? Allow me to show you then the third bullet. On the calendar? Yes?
Take that!
I don't suppose this would pass as a third bullet. Pass for a bullet as much as you pass for a lawyer, my learned friend. Coming from you, why don't you pass with me? Not mine. No, wait, is it reasonable? Okay. Okay. It's been a long day. Let's actually try to find this third bullet before we attempt it again, Bruno. Okay, never mind that.
Hold it!
Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with the trial, to be honest. I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but the surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fellow's name now? Herlick? No, Herlock? No, Herlock? Herlock Jones, by any chance? Yes, good lord. I was that Herlock fellow. It was that Herlock fellow. What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Jones. That's right, using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see, the fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... yes. Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. The counsel for the defense is correct. All is clearly shown in the photographic print. The bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally. Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake? Are you saying that you checked his back? Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury, no sign that the bullet had left the body at all. What? That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that this bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards, which is exactly why I said about slicing him up. But I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can someone please explain how it happened? Can someone please solve the mystery? It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. The mystery where that bullet ended up is infuriating. Okay. So...
Objection!
There's two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Oh, ballistic expert. Pitting... On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers, but since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Volin. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night, there was blizzard, I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And the situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body, and no sign of, how do you say, exit wound. Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from a lump of ice and pierced my body. It made a deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. Good gracious. Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me, and that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullets. But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop, not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here.
Bruno, where exactly was Hurley shot again?
Well, according to the report, in his stomach, sort of around this area, I think.
Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt.
A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that.
Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations.
What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, a fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may, Lord Ranzigs. While I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense that I had the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry. As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness. I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well, extremely unconventional during a summation examination. I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes the night in question, is it? Look at that. One of the files is broken and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. It was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury. So, in the wall is probably the cork. The bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into Waller's shop. A delightful complex aroma. Appear one mystery has been solved, at least. No bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. Ugh. But at least the mystery's solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Duh. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scuffy pouch as evidence.
Whose pouch is scruffy?
Shen's pouch has been entered. Now, listening examination. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion. Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Renosuke. It's really scorched badly just here.
Oh, the strap is broken, look!
This must be where the bullet hit then.
Let me see.
What the? Iris, look. Behind where the broken file was, do you see it?
Ah, that's the Skulkin Brothers bullet.
What a stroke of luck that it hit its pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is, there were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night.
We found exactly what the juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet.
It's time to press that juror again, I think. Oh look, there's a hole here in the back. Doesn't look much like a bullet hole, but clearly something's ripped through the leather with great force.
Something must have pierced it somehow to lift his hole behind.
Yes, it looks that way. Mr. Sholmes and his pouch both took a beating, didn't they?
These glass vials of all the Hurley's homemade potions. Homemade. Yes, like fingerprint powder to show up where people have touched things. And scent amplifying solution to intensify a smelling rate on an object.
That's amazing.
They're all very easy to use. There's just one thing that you have to be careful of. They're all very flammable.
Mr. Sholmes is a walking bomb. Either he's passionate about finding out the truth, or just oblivious to the dangers. This file has been smashed to pieces. Presumably this is where the bullet struck. So the bullet hit the chemical in the file, and it would have been a really big explosion. Harley's potions and chemicals are highly useful for the investigation work he does. But they're also quite tricky to handle, safely at least. They're very dangerous. Oh.
I'm sure that when this file broke, the chemical inside would have ignited.
Note to self, always walk on the right-hand side of Sholmes in future. The left is in danger zone. You're not gonna comment on the cork thingies? This glass file. This is where the bullet was lodged. Imagine what would have happened if it pierced the leather. Thank goodness Mr. Sholmes is going to be alright. Okay, I guess that's it. So now, there's still a way to turn this around somehow, I'm sure of it. Okay. Okay, do this again.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question, Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? The pouch was removed from around Mr. Shung's waist before he was taken to hospital. And since then, it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Shung's. It's clearly visible on the photographic print. Ah. 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windibank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Ah. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from this crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Ugh. Ugh. While the summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which this case against the defendant has been built. As it is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. Witnesses, Governor, were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble, simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of nothing if I can help it. Is it one of yours? God blimey, Gov, go blimey, not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never! The Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us, that's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's a head scratcher. Counsel for the defense. Yes. I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet told us about the Skulkin brothers. It's nothing to do with them. I believe it has nothing to do with them. Nash, that's right. Yeah, nothing to do with us, Gov. We've established that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 guns already known to the court. The logical conclusion, therefore, is that on the night in question in Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery, there was another person present in possession of a 3rd firearm. Whilst the brothers may have had nothing to do with the 3rd gun or the bullet fired from it, it's inconceivable that they had nothing to do with the 3rd man. Yes, the brothers were working with an accomplice who was carrying a gun. Oh, okay then. That worked out somehow. An accomplice, you say? Pig's wool. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time there has been not a murmur of a 3rd man. If this apparently wraith-like being exists, the court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime, and secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Well, counsel? Supposed to prove the existence of the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, the defense is, ready to present answers. Defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, Moneypenny's friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now, there's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you there that there is a third intruder present at the scene? The bullet? Present.
Take that!
The evidence is right here in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of the third intruder. Well, which one is it?
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a blood stain, my lord. A blood stain? Green blood, curious even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New inventions, stop. Not yet appeared in stories, stop.
It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fungus sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color.
Different elements of people's blood.
Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So, by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is.
Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank. Ah, striking blue. Yes, so you see the green color of this blood stain is on the calendar. Shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed. By golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. And whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder, Mr. Herlock?
Take that!
There can be no doubt. This is the shadowy accomplice the brothers have been trying so hard to protect.
Objection!
A lottery? Is that how you decide who's guilty? In that case, the name Renuskin Arahodo should be added to the draw for being guilty of incompetence. Okay, that wasn't...
Identity's accomplice a trump card, you know?
Yes, I expect it is. At this point, we're the only ones who know the person's identity.
It's trying to
Yes, yes. You can't deny this on your own.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Winterbank's pawnbroker on the afternoon before the incident took place. When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Right, so her log wasn't hurt at all except for the explosion thing. So, yeah, it makes sense. Because the pink blood's Mason. I haven't...
Renedic? It's blood.
Small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before.
And it's watching to shine again.
Hold still with that disc. Okay, so it's gonna turn green. Probably, most likely. Yes, okay, so I should have looked at this first. Wait, that color. What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Okay. Broker? Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, the article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once.
That's a lie. What are you trying to pull?
Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say. Any music box discs, too. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord, that's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Winterbank for a print showing the fellow, taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubness. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Winterbank that morning. And you claim this man is a brother's accomplice. Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, never seen the geezer before in me life. On me life, Gov, on me life. Never seen him. Don't tell me he's their brother. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my Lord Newpenny's friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree, we must see proof the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy colonel you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in the trial from the start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord, the defense will present the evidence now. proof that the man pictured in the photographic print was in fact the person struck with the third bullet. Their blood. Present this.
Take that!
That proof is right here in this portfolio. Good gracious, Counsel! Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed? I see you share my interest in red-colored liquids, Manipini's friend, but... Enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime?
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windobanks, which is when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man had then attempted to purloin the article in the defendant's possession, no? That's right, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor accident occurred. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell, say goodbye to style.
Wait a minute, that disc is mine.
What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible in the disc now. Goodness, a bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom.
Using my trusty fogger gun.
Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood on the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Egbert Benedict, who was in Windobanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night.
So there's someone else. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Oh, who are you talking about? It's boiling me.
My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Egbert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now, this flagrant ignorance of the mechanicals of law. Sherlock Holmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist of a series of short stories for the vulgar classes, a god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court of the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So, the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well... And pray, do you even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it? Ugh.
Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes' concoction a little rubbish? I don't know. I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that.
I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But, what other choice do I have?
I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief! What did you just say, young girl?
And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now.
Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Renaud. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something?
Unbelievable. Mr. Shelton's partner is a force to be reckoned with.
Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After that shrewd presence of a situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Not guilty.
Two call guilty and 4 call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection!
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. The trial will continue. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name of the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I don't believe it. Just when I managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke?
It was me, my lord.
Juror number 5. What have you to say, madam?
If possible, Inspector.
Me, ma'am?
I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again, the one in which the gentleman is shown.
Ah, right, yes. This one, you mean? Of Mr. Benedict.
Yes. There's no doubt in my mind.
Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man?
Yes, I know him.
What? No. Good gracious. Is he your brother? Juror number 5, how on earth?
I'm a communications officer, stop.
As we can clearly see.
The gentleman in that photograph is, stop. Also a communications officer, stop. He works in my office, stop. A very talented operator, in fact, stop. He should be in the communications station now, stop. Tapping away on the telegraph, stop.
This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right.
I suppose we all imagine the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he is a respectable Joe by day, whatever he gets up to at night.
Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste, as your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson. Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbroker on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. To be continued. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Continuing. Gina, how are you holding up? I'm starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now.
Ginny! Are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything?
What's the point, eh? Why go to all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me?
What?
Well, you saw it, that picture. What picture?
Ah, you mean this? The photograph taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think it would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure.
It's hopeless. Anyone who sees that is gonna think I did it, ain't they? Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you've gotta have your doubts about me now. You can't still think I'm innocent. Of course I can.
Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night. Luna's cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you.
Alright then. It was after we had that dinner together at your place, right, Ers? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, remember. After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down the street to the 221 to Winterberg's place, and I had to know if Iris' story was there or not. If Iris' story was there or not, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I don't know what it's about or nothing, but if you ask me, there's something in it that Sholmes don't like, something what he don't want people reading. So that's why he lied to Iris about sticking it in lug with Winterberg for safekeeping. At least that's what I thought at the time. So you broke into Winterberg's. I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all of it was gonna kick off, did I? I struck the lock and stuck inside. It was dark as you like in there. So I gave the oil lamp on the counter a bit of wick, and that's when... What do you think you're doing?
Ah! I nearly died, I did. And next thing I knew, I grabbed the gun off the counter and was waving it in the air like, I don't know what.
Ah, you're the girl who was hidden here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets were in for armed robbery.
The manuscript have you got here? Did Sholmes leave a little papers with you? Story.
I beg your pardon?
The Hound of something or other. If it's here, I want to see it.
I'm sorry, young lady, but I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers.
I don't want it. What will I do with it anyway? I just want to see if it's here, that's all.
Oh, you want to see it, do you?
I want to know if Sholmes really pawned it here or not.
Please, just let me see it and I'll go. Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you? So then Oak Cove unlocked the storeroom door and we both went inside. And it was there, alright, the mental script. Shims weren't lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Ginny. Anyway, then there was a bit of a kick-up out in the main bit of the shop. The Skulkin brothers arrived on the scene, yes. What was that noise? Someone's breaking in? Dear me, is there some burglars' convention here tonight that I don't know about? I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry. I better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back? Oh, well, I'll come with you and... Now don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances. And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out of the shop. I am back in the storeroom like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. It sounded like they got into a bit of scrap. I started to think I should help, see. So I was just about to go out the storeroom myself when... Bang bang. I had a couple of shots go off. 2, I think. Almost at the same time. And then there he was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it shut and locked it quick as you like. Because you thought whoever had shot Mr. Winterbank might come for you. Yeah, so I went to grab the old cub's gun. I figured I'd put up a fight at least. But when I got a better look at him, I knew. Winterbank was a goner. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden, kind of dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing. That must be when you passed out, Gina. If I hadn't done what I done, that old cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did, but they didn't believe a word of it, did they? All they said was, if I kept telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Ginny. Don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Rena's about to put the real culprit to the bill. That cove, what was there? The cove, what was there in the afternoon? That Agate Benedict. I still remember how you looked at me, like I was nothing. He was there that night. We don't know his real name yet, but I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. You what? You can leave it all in Reno's capable hands now, Ginny. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it was only 2 months ago. Me and McGill did. We told you a little pack of lies. And you got the bug trotter off with him, even though he's a killer. No, I could never forget that. Oh, I did what I thought was best at the time, but the pain of that era of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I almost made you a promise. Also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what if I'm lying? You could be walking in a kid off a hook for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in a trial. You were? Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who done it.
Runa?
But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. Renovska, no one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest.
I was so happy, I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me, not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute, unwavering belief in me. And in turn, I developed an absolute, unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Even though I'm a diver and not a good liar. You're not like McGilded. I know that. Eh? That's right, you're her friend, Ginny. Iris, we know you better than you think. And we've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes. That's really all we need to know. Exactly. Mr. Nahodo, Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately. Yes, of course. Thank you. I'd been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time, so I knew only too well just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it at last. The final chapter. The final battle. Wish me luck, Suzato-san. And I hope you're watching over me too, partner. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Van Zeeks, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? The subpoena was delivered to the communication station of the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let us turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's process of this case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector. Yes, I can only apologize, my lord. And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom. It's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake.
My lord, the subpoenaed witness has just arrived in the building. Thank you, officer. Show him to the stand without delay. Mr. Eggert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon, and certainly not like this. Thank you for complying with the court subpoena at such short notice, sir. But of course, my lord, as an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige. Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record. Ashley Graydon, communications officer. Ashley, are you a girl?
Mr. Graydon and I both work at London Central Communications Station. Now, perhaps someone would kindly explain what all this is about. You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume? Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at a pawnbroker's on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question. That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond my joke, you know. Very well, without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. Gladly, my lord, gladly. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time, but are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Some Scaramouche detective homebrewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence. So you deny the accusation completely, do you? I must say I'm dismayed. For the latest court in the land to be swayed by this self-possessed detective's toy, it was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. Then it would seem me we have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly! How long am I expected to be detained here? If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in the matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately. Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea, some small consolation at least. Let us not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. We'll proceed with the cross-examination. So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies, you are. Minosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so, Ashley Graydon, Enchante. So. I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. Accusation. Naturally, I have occasion like this of pawnbroking. Are you seriously suggesting I colluded with no intention of admitting to such a thing? There are certain parties here.
Hold it!
Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Schoen's chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be sure that the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Schoen's chemical is able to differ. Spare me the science lesson. Who's this Schoen's character anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a renowned detective. So, even you are unable to bring yourself to say great detective? A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of fairy tales, are we?
Hey. Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? Eh, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to you with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not big bruv Skulky. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Eh, call blimey, governor. You what?
Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court? Me thoughts? I don't have none of 'em. It must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest girl. Nothing. I was just thinking, if we wave his arms around like that much more, it'll open up the wound again, that's all. What wound? Well, he took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. Ain't gonna be healed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worrying for him, and... Oh, hell's bells. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord. Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole on the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you would allow a court official to examine your arm, sir. The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand is as if in pain. No, I refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I am not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all this. I never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery. My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. Dun, 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 dun. The bottom line is, I've never had anything to do with the...
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it. You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I'm not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to furnish my study.
Objection!
No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Inspector? Come again, Sunshine. You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself and the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Well now... I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must. I'm not going to lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. What's going on here?
Grexy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras I early installed in Winterbanks.
Yes, of course. Indeed, and the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say. Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse the articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid getting testimony about what happened? That's all he's gonna say in the matter, is it?
What do you think, Rene?
I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away.
The complete opposite of Hurley then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better.
Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers.
Yes, they were the key to it after all.
So he says he had nothing to do with window inks. Well, we know that's not true.
Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look at the court record.
Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. I already got his... What? Do I need to look at this again?
McGildy? That's the man you defended in court a couple months ago, isn't it, Rene?
Yes, or rather mistakenly defended. I wonder what his name's doing on the back of this disc. That's a question I'd love to know the answer to myself.
This is blood, probably from somebody's fingertip. Well, the deuce, not just somebody's fingertip, Mr. Benedict's fingertip. And dressed all in white. Yes, it happened that afternoon in Windobanks. Tina tried to snatch his disc out of the man's hand, and the sharp little bumps cut his thumb. So the lesson is, if I'm trying to grab a music box disc from you, let go quickly.
The lesson is don't snatch things, surely. Okay, let's see. Okay, and I present the disc itself.
Objection!
Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is it supposed to mean something? This disc was, until the day of his murder, in pawn in Mr. Windowig's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try and take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course, wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I have never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc. Ah, yes, resulting from an abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must. Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant. Order, order. Well, Mr. Graydon, it would appear that there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish, though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy guttering, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGill, did you say? The famous London philanthropist who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder. Yes, my lord, the one and the same. Good lord, Mr. Graydon, are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Order. Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in the pawn on that fateful night 2 days ago. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windibanks.
It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming this belongs to him then, isn't it?
In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windibanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason. Counsel, you commence your cross-examination, please. Note on the disc. Redemption ticket. Stop. Proceed at once. Yes. In the end, of course, it is taken by the police. Words, I have certainly no reason.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently, the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? The last remark Mr. Gray had made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering McGilded's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine. What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets. Yes, exactly. You should know all about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago, a man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life, yet he had a dark side too. Where are you going with this, Van Zieks? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough. Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about, that's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zieks here. Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord. Okay, so absolutely no reason. Mr. Winterbank, it's very written, still perhaps he ran out of paper. What's the verse side now? Okay, so this is the box. Some chickens. No. What time did they show up at the shop? Sometime in the morning or early afternoon, I think. So maybe he went back to try getting this code again for the time deadline. Or if it did pass, he went back to buy it himself. I believe is the case.
Objection!
There's clearly something odd. Damn it. The wolves and breaking the shop.
Objection!
This disc was deposited at Windibanks at Magnus McGillicud's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again. In any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbroker again that night.
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true. What? Mr. McGilded had another article in pawn at Windibanks, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ugh. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilded in Windibanks' pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one, together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ugh. This is the second ticket, is it? What had that man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Indeed, the witness makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, this grading fellow needed this small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zieks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. In the night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Good gracious. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras.
Ah, Haley's red-handed recorders again.
As previously explained, using this plan of the shop layout, the victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, Mr. McGilded's small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on 13th of April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on 15th April. The victim certainly has a very full shop, it would appear. And then here we have another print. To compare. I must say, placing them side by side leaves me cold. Okay, let's see. Nothing standing out. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we considered theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your men had already compared these two prints thoroughly, Inspector. Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these two photographic prints. And the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question, and my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. And I don't believe it. If I could have just shown that he's stolen McGilda's pawn box, I might have been able to break him down at last.
You know what, Reno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same.
I don't know. What? So, counsel, in the light of evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy? Well, it was a box, so he could have just opened it, right? Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something if I may. Try something? What do you mean, counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy. The stereoscope? I'm not entirely sure I follow. What piece of evidence do you tend to use to help you identify?
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Whee! Yes, you've caught the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You got the cross-eyed compulsion. Jumper number 3, what a surprise.
Come on, Reno. Let's put the pictures in place and see what the wonderful contraption shows us.
There we go. Now look through the eyepiece. I wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in question of the court, counsel. Okay, the process location.
Take that!
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there's one minor discrepancy between them. What? Oh yeah, I see it now. When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different, location of this small box. Let me wait. Unbelievable. By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary. What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGillicud's small box was indeed not stolen from Windibanks on the night in question. However, there could be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGillicud is in fact... Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection!
Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen. Which means quite simply that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, Miss McGillicud's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? Yes. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point in this, the fact that it was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we needed to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windibanks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this case. Trial. The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeeks. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question, bring it back here for further examination. Death stares. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks. This is nothing but a smoke screen, a Japanese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning. That this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGillicud from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGillicud perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense. The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make rather a lot of sense. It's not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Though goodness knows Mr. McGillicud was rich enough. He had deposited cash at a pawnbrokery, certain that. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. to explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have. Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case? Well,
What's the matter, Reno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence.
yes, of course. You and I both know that. We both know McGilda's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why.
But if we
explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGilda's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information.
Oh no!
And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury.
But Ginny!
Could it be that Van Zieks knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything.
But maybe... this could be a great opportunity for us.
Sorry, what do you mean, Iris?
Well, what is it that you always say, Rena? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time.
Alright, the exact significance of the things that Mr. McGilda deposited with Mr. Winnebank is something that only Gina could explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here? Bring her out. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilda's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Window Banks by Mr. McGilda, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It would prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it'll have on the accused's standing, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to explain that last remark? This prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice. Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here.
Good luck, Reno.
The articles that Mr. McGilda had deposited in Windabank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilda. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now, here we are all again, the same players in that trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Newponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilda. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. And the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck. With the body then being dropped through the skylight onto the carriage below, it was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGill died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, as indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor this small box being mentioned in the course of these proceedings. Miss Lestrade, would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean?
I don't know what you mean. I already said all what I know.
And what about everything you told us yesterday were inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important.
But...
Remember, little girl? If it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, he will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts. You have little credibility to lose.
Ginny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Reno now. Iris? We're on your side.
Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hellbent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears, so be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilded's pawn articles in that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Ziek said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. The real truth.
Truth is that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over my head, and that pair on the roof deck went off the cold slopes. That's when McGill had slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop round about. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one what we'd seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous. What you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago. As you say, my lord, then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in McGilded's trial. Sounds very much to me as the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes. Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial of this witness and of my learned friend are entirely inexcusable.
I don't believe it. The whole trial was a farce. It was all lies. That McGilded fellow door just like that pickpocket. Don't forget the lawyer from the east. They're all in on it together. You're wrong, the lot of ya. Mr. Odo, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it.
Humbug. I don't think so. I really expected you to believe that. You really stitched everyone up, didn't you? What an operation to get the man off scot-free. Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of Miss Gilded's pawn articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Words fail me, the situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord.
Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Truth is, a brickmaker closed in the cabin. Ashton dragged me out from the seat. I saw a disc on the floor. All of a sudden, he had a scream over me. A pain of routine. So he slipped to drop or some chins. Threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing.
Hold it!
Threatened you how exactly?
Told me I only been able to scarp if I did exactly what he said.
Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said.
Which was?
He told me I have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never.
I heard that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I'd have to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in log, to stop it from being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
But really, why on earth would Mr. McGilded have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police, it makes no sense at all. There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilded had the driver deposit at Windibanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs.
Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up. Well done, Gina.
Well done, Gina. It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that.
Gina's really put her faith in you now.
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So we need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
And it's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement.
I suppose I should.
Oh, and another thing.
What's that?
Take a look at those two. It's a bit strange they've been whispering to each other the entire time.
Yes, that is strange. It looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it.
Truth is, Rickmakers.
Hold it!
And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats.
Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not? False testimony, my lord?
That's what he told me that I had to say.
But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilded and his victim acquaintances?
I don't know. Well, I did hear him talking a lot.
What were they talking about?
Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. Started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe. And then all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
and I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah, that's what gave me away. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seats.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc?
Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the code lying on the floor.
Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps?
I don't know, but McGildy picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat with the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat.
What did he say to you at that time?
He told me not to say a word about what I've seen or heard, no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared the way he was looking at me. I thought, if I didn't go on with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me little questions. Like what my name was and where I lived at. He asked me about being a diver too.
But after a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed.
Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise. All of a sudden I heard a scream.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe.
That's right. They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGilda got me out of sight.
Out of sight? Where?
Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to a halt, the coup terrible, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops.
If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear that they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGildy, the driver, and you still at the scene.
Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
The driver, yes. He would also testify in this trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. What did McGildy and the driver say to each other?
I don't know what happened, stuff like that mainly. So McGildy slipped the driver some tin.
Hold it!
That pawn shop obviously being Windibanks on Baker Street. Just a moment, counsel. Do you mean to tell me the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well? Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand. Indeed, Lord Van Zeeks.
McGildy took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up all careful-like before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's going to be worth a few bob.
Yes, Gina was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Windibank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery.
The driver looked pretty happy with Mr. McGildy flashed some brass in his face and he went running off in a lick. And the bog trotter called up to me and told me to come out of the drag's cabin. He threatened me not to snitch.
Do I have to press this one again?
Hold it!
That knew how exactly. Yes, that's it. Which was... Tell me how to hang on to the ticket. Ticket, whenever. Give me some brass.
Really, why on earth would he live in it today? There'd be no logical explanation. Something very important.
Anyway, after that, he let it go, so I laid it for the coppers.
Well done, Gina. Okay, I pressed every statement. Let me try this again.
Hold it! Excuse me.
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector, Mr. Graydon. Why, are you trying to give me a heart attack? You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion? With this fella? Put the other ones on, John. You think I've got anything to talk about with a shady gent like this? And I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine. But they've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating. Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what exactly transpired on the omnibus. It would appear on that night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this disc, however, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilda took what he wanted by force, and at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. The disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way, although I don't understand why as yet. And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilda's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the coat died right after his trial. I knew that. So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own. Well, why not, eh? They're only gonna be forfeited. Why should I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime. Mr. Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be? Eh? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably gonna sell it. And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime. My lord. Evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir. Mysterious little box deposited by McGilden 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Okay, the next part will be the last of the trial, and from the looks of it, it'll be pretty long, so I'll end it here and save it for next time. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and we'll see what happens. I hope Gina doesn't get too punished. We'll see. So, catch you on the next one, and take care. Bye.